The assessment for this unit has three main components. The near weekly quizzes, which are worth 18%, the lab report, which is worth 45%, and the final exam, which is worth 13%. The data collection up here is part of, or is marked as part of, the lab report, and I'll start with that part. This is the first thing other than quiz 1 and 2 that's due. You should have picked up at the first lecture 5 surveys, and you can pick spare ones up in the tutorials or from the psychology office, or you can download those surveys yourself, and I'll put a link to it up on the Moodle site in a moment. And I'll tell you more about what to do with that as we go along. The lab report, sorry, you should also have a copy of the survey instructions, survey administration instructions, a one-page piece of paper. Now the lab report is a 3,500 word lab report, and it includes the traditional APA style lab report structure, cover sheet, title page, abstract, introduction worth 10%, which should focus on explaining your research question and hypotheses. There are background references available on eReserve, and you may like to do some of your other own research, but that's not a major requirement, and you shouldn't spend too long on that component. Then method, 15%. Make sure you include the 3 standard sections: participants, instrumentation or materials, procedure, and design and analysis subsections are optional and not really necessary. The key thing about the method is that it should allow us to critique the study and replicate the study. Results are the main component. They're worth 45%, and they should consist of 4 analyses, 4 main analyses. Firstly, at least one example of an exploratory factor analysis, along with reliability analysis and composite scores. At least one multiple linear regression, and at least one advanced ANOVA. You'll design these analyses yourselves. And finally, at least one qualitative analysis, so that you get some experience dealing with non-numerical data. Finally, there's a discussion worth 30%, and those 2 components, the results and the discussion, which should be a meaningful interpretation of the results, and it should relate the study back to the questions and hypotheses set up in the introduction. It's the results and the discussion that are the 2 key sections. References in APA style and appendices are optional. There's no need to include all your SPSS output unless you think it's particularly pertinent. Submission is electronic. Do not submit hard copies. And there's the usual caveats about keeping multiple and regular backups. I would suggest one on a USB key, one on your university drive, and one on your home drive, as well as perhaps emailing it to yourself regularly would be a sensible thing to do. Extensions, this is a semester-long piece of assessment, so you would need to document significant and unavoidable interruptions in order to qualify for an extension. We'll learn more about the lab report as we go, and feel free to discuss your questions on the Moodle site, and I'll do my best to answer them. Okay, there'll be quizzes this year instead of the mid-semester exam, so this is a chance for you to track yourself more than anything with the content as you go and get regular feedback. The quizzes aren't heavily weighted, so each quiz is worth 2%. And there's a practice quiz that I'll put up in week 2, followed by 9 weekly quizzes that reflect the major topics in lectures and tutorials. Now the quizzes are done in your own time, and they're available from midnight one week to the end of that week, midnight at the end of that week. So they're available for a full 7 days, and then the next quiz will become available. So you can do it as an open book exam. It should be done independently with no assistance from other people, but you may use your book, internet sources, etc. However, there will be 10 questions typically in 10 minutes, and you won't have a whole lot of time to go searching for the answers. You'll tend to know them, or you won't. So we'll see how you go with the practice, and then you'll know if you've got more questions. The final exam with 37% there probably won't be a practice exam because the quizzes serve as a practice, but I have already been asked if I can provide one, so no guarantees, but I will see what I can do towards the end of semester for a practice exam. You can bring a calculator and a standard dictionary into the exam, and it's 180 minutes long, mostly multiple choice, but possibly some open-ended questions, and there will be interpretation of SPSS output assessed through the multiple choice questions. And that pretty much covers the main points about assessment. Other points to highlight here: attendance at tutorials is strongly recommended but not compulsory. I don't collect attendance. I treat you as adults able to make your own decisions. But if you're going to miss some things, you're better off missing lectures and then accessing the online recordings. Tutorials are not recorded, and it's the best way to get the hands-on skills that are critical to being able to complete the lab report. And that's about it. Thank you.